Have you ever experienced the unexplained? Hello, listeners. Welcome back to Stories Philippines podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and today we have a bone-chilling tale for our Halloween special. Have you ever felt a cold shiver down your spine when you're alone at home? Or perhaps caught a fleeting glimpse of something or someone that shouldn't be there? If you have, you might relate to the story we have for you today. Our story originates from Quezon City, but the names and places have been changed for privacy reasons. This isn't just a ghost story, it's a tale of mystery, financial ruin, and the inexplicable. And as always, remember to listen with the lights on. Our story starts in a two-story apartment in Quezon City. The building, though not ancient, had seen its fair share of families come and go. Constructed with a cemented ground floor and a wooden upper floor, it had an eerie blend of Spanish-era architecture. The large backyard, lush with a full-grown Aratiles tree, added a mix of beauty and a sense of foreboding to the residents. The first few weeks seemed normal, but soon, the neighbors began to ask the new tenants strange questions. Why did you rent that place? Some would inquire subtly. Others were more direct, you should stay for a year and then leave. Even the grandfather, who was usually level-headed, got upset. That place is cursed, he declared. The family, of course, dismissed these warnings as superstitions. One ordinary afternoon, the mother was upstairs, busy drying and folding clothes. She glanced up and caught sight of a young boy peeking through the doorway. The boy quickly darted down the stairs. Thinking it was her son, she rushed downstairs only to find him sound asleep on the sofa. Confused and slightly unnerved, she decided to let it go. This wasn't the only strange occurrence. An uncle who visited frequently also reported seeing a young boy running downstairs and into the bathroom. He often heard a child's laughter at midnight, which sent chills down his spine. The entire family started sleeping poorly, often feeling as if they were being watched. In Philippine folklore, sightings of ghostly children are not uncommon. Often, these spirits are said to be the souls of children who met untimely deaths. The concept of child spirits or lost souls is woven deeply into our cultural stories. It's believed that these spirits linger, often bound by unfinished business or untimely departures from the mortal world. Living in a place believed to be haunted can have a profound psychological impact on its inhabitants. Sleep disturbances, heightened anxiety, and a constant feeling of being watched can take a toll on one's mental health. This is why it's crucial to address such experiences, whether through spiritual means or psychological support. The haunted events didn't end with mere sightings. The family soon faced severe financial difficulties. The father's income dwindled mysteriously, and expenses seemed to double without reason. It seemed as though a dark cloud had settled over them. Neighbors confirmed that every family who had previously rented the apartment ended up broke within a year. Even a blessing ceremony didn't stop the eerie happenings. Despite the low rent, the family decided to leave the apartment after another year. Their financial situation improved as soon as they moved out, and the paranormal activities ceased. They were relieved, but questions about the true nature of their former home lingered. The rumor was that a boy who lived in that house over 30 years ago was hit by a car and died. This story, though lacking strong evidence, remained a frightening possibility. It's interesting to note that financial ruin associated with haunted locations is a recurring theme in various cultures. In many societies, economic hardship is often attributed to malevolent spirits or curses. While skeptics might argue that these events can be explained away by psychological stress or coincidence, believers hold firm that the supernatural can indeed affect our material world. Throughout history, Numerous cultures have associated financial ruin with haunted locations. In ancient China, for example, it was believed that restless spirits could bring misfortune to households. Similarly, in Western folklore, the idea of cursed properties causing financial and personal ruin is a well-documented phenomenon. These beliefs highlight the deep-seated connection between the supernatural and everyday life. One night, while the father was out late working, the mother and children experienced something straight out of a horror movie. Around midnight, they heard footsteps echoing in the hallway. Assuming it was their father, they called out but received no reply. Moments later, there was a knock on the front door. The mother answered it, only to find her husband entering, bewildered as to why they had locked the door. Doppelgangers, ghostly doubles of living people, have been a part of folklore and paranormal studies for centuries. In many cultures, encountering your doppelganger is considered an omen of bad luck or impending death. In Filipino folklore, seeing a doppelganger, especially if it behaves strangely, is an unnerving sign. Some psychologists propose that doppelganger sightings can be attributed to stress or a psychological phenomenon known as split brain theory, where the brain creates a duplicate image of oneself. However, for those who have experienced it, scientific explanations often fall short. The concept of the doppelganger is not unique to the Philippines. In German folklore, the term doppelganger literally means double walker and refers to a spectral double that is often an omen of death. In Norse mythology, a Vardøger is a ghostly double who precedes a person, performing their actions in advance. These stories serve to remind us of the universal fear of encountering one's double. As the years went by, the family tried to forget the strange occurrences. However, one day, while renovating parts of the house, they discovered something that reignited their fears. Behind an old wooden panel in the upstairs bathroom, they found a jar containing a fetus. The jar was old, with water less than 1/4 full, and the fetus was still recognizable. The family decided to bury the jar without telling anyone else. They believed it might be linked to the boy they had seen and the eerie events they experienced. After the burial, the paranormal activities lessened, but the memory haunted them. The discovery of a fetus in a jar is not just a chilling element of our story. Historically, there have been instances where fetuses were preserved in jars for medical or even ritualistic purposes. In some cultures, such objects were believed to ward off evil or bring misfortune if not handled properly. This unsettling find adds a layer of historical eeriness to our narrative. When it comes to handling discoveries like a fetus in a jar, there are ethical considerations to bear in mind. In modern times, such a find would typically be reported to the authorities and handled with sensitivity. However, in the context of our story, the family's decision to bury it themselves speaks volumes about their desperation to end the haunting. In the 19th century, it was not uncommon for medical students to preserve fetuses in jars for educational purposes. These jars would often end up forgotten in attics or basements, only to be discovered decades later. The discovery of such jars often led to ghost stories and local legends, much like the one in our narrative. One night, the youngest child was found talking to someone in his room. When the mother asked who he was speaking to, he innocently replied, "The nice man who visits me." The family was alarmed and decided to consult a local spiritual healer. The spiritual healer conducted a ritual and claimed that the nice man was a guardian spirit trying to protect the family from a more malevolent entity. This revelation brought a mix of relief and fear. While the idea of a protective spirit was comforting, The presence of a malevolent force was deeply unsettling. In Filipino culture, guardian spirits or Anido are ancestral spirits believed to protect the living. These spirits are revered and respected, often invoked in rituals for protection and guidance. The healer's claim aligns with this cultural belief, offering a layer of cultural depth to our story. Anido are ancestral spirits revered by many indigenous Filipino groups. They are often invoked in rituals to bless, protect, and guide the living. The belief in Anido dates back to pre-colonial Philippines and continues to be a significant part of Filipino spiritual practices. In our story, the nice man visiting the child can be seen as an embodiment of Anido, a guardian spirit watching over the family. The family's resolve to leave the apartment was solidified one fateful night. It was around 3 a.m. when they heard loud banging noises and felt an intense coldness enveloping the house. The father, who was usually skeptical, decided to confront whatever was causing the disturbance. Armed with a flashlight and a rosary, he ventured into the dark hallway. To his horror, he saw a shadowy figure standing at the end of the corridor. The figure emitted a guttural noise that sent shivers down his spine. Summoning all his courage, he recited a prayer and demanded the entity to leave. The figure dissipated, leaving behind an eerie silence. Confronting a supernatural entity is a recurring theme in ghost stories worldwide. It's a moment that tests one's courage and faith. In many cases, it's believed that invoking religious symbols or prayers can drive away malevolent spirits. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, these confrontations often serve as a turning point in such narratives. Throughout history, various cultures have used prayers and religious symbols to confront and expel malevolent spirits. In Christianity, the use of holy water, crucifixes, and prayers are common methods. Similarly, in Islam, reciting verses from the Quran is believed to ward off evil spirits. These practices highlight the universal reliance on faith and spirituality when facing the unknown. The family left the apartment the next day. As they drove away, they couldn't help but feel a sense of relief mixed with lingering fear. They moved into a new house, and life slowly returned to normal. The financial troubles ceased, and there were no more sightings of the mysterious boy. Years later, the children, now adults, occasionally discussed their experiences in the haunted apartment. They wonder if the entities they encountered were real or a figment of their collective imagination. Regardless, the impact of those eerie events remains etched in their memories. Collective memory plays a crucial role in how we perceive and recount paranormal experiences. When multiple people share the same experiences, it validates the events and makes them more believable. This is why ghost stories often become an integral part of family lore, passed down through generations. The Amityville Horror is one of the most famous haunted house stories in the United States. Similar to our story, the Lutz family experienced a series of paranormal events that led them to flee their home. The collective memory of the family validated their experience, making it a part of American folklore. This example underscores the power of collective memory in shaping and validating paranormal narratives. Dear listeners, that was our chilling tale from Quezon City. Sometimes, places carry memories and energies of past events. If you ever find yourself in a similar situation, remember to stay calm and consider seeking help. This story reminds us that not everything can be explained by logic. Sometimes the past has a way of leaving its mark on the present. It's important to respect the unknown and seek help when needed. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Stories Philippines podcast. Do you have a spooky tale to share? We'd love to hear it. Send in your stories and you might just hear them in our future episodes. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider supporting us. Check the show notes for links on how you can contribute financially. Your support helps us continue creating wonderful episodes like this one. Thanks for tuning into Stories Philippines podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. If you have your own chilling stories, feel free to send them in. Have a spooky day. This has been your host, Alex, signing off.